mind if I put my hand on the seat?
Oh, this is cool.
I'm good.
From millennia. It's like 1,000 years. Now it's just like living together.
Christy and I were going to do that.
Good morning. We ask you, if you're able-bodied, to please stand for a prayer and to follow by the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask you to guide us always, satisfy the needs that need to be met during this meeting. Grant us the wisdom and strengthen us as we make tough decisions. I pray that we will be fruitful. Let us be effective and decisive. Lord, we celebrate several of our employees today for their service. We are thankful for all our employees. We ask you to bless them in their daily lives and watch over them. We are blessed and thankful to serve in a community where you have placed us. Father, you also instruct us in your word to pray for our leaders. This morning we hold our leaders nationally and locally up to you to grant them the wisdom and guidance to always have their actions illuminate you. We need to be more like you each day and seek you daily. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. We convene the Commissioners' meeting at this time. Ask for approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. This time we'll have public comment on any agenda items. Come forward to the podium, please. State your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Todd Lauer, Jersey Shore. I'd like to comment on Employee Service Awards. Nice job. I'm not going to be negative here, at least to the employees. Okay? 2.1, Deputy Luke Motter, Distinguished Service Award, aggravated assault while on light duty. My question is, how can a man chase someone down and be on light duty? What are the on light duty in Lycoming County Sheriff's Office or Lycoming County government, period, for that matter? If you're on light duty, I say stay home or collect short-term disability or workers' comp or whatever. There's no need to be here collecting a full paycheck on light duty. So if that's the case, then every woman that works for Lycoming County once a month should be able to go on light duty. So, there you go, that's my comment, thank you.
Any other public comment at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to number 2, employee service awards at this time.
Start with 2.1, Deputy Luke Motter for the Distinguished Service Award, aggravated assault while on light duty.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
It's always a highlight of any office to be able to recognize your employees and the employees that work for the county. It's really heartwarming to see the number of employees that we recognize today for the years of service and for some of the special efforts that they've engaged in. We happen to be fortunate to have 4 of our members who we recognize today. The first of which is Deputy Luke Motter. Luke is a very busy deputy. He's very kind, caring, and considerate. He works very hard. And last year he had an injury where he had to go on light duty. And we've always had the position that when we have an employee, whether it's a deputy or a clerk, if we have a job that can be fulfilled in this county, it makes really good sense as good stewards of our budgets and from a work ethic to give them jobs and tasks that they can perform and perform work rather than sit home using county time to not work and not be productive. That's exactly what we do, and that's exactly what we did with the Luke Motter situation when he was on light duty. When Luke Motter got involved in this incident, he wasn't out working. He wasn't working on the street light duty. When deputies are working light duty, they are not, and they're working in the courthouse, they aren't even armed. They're working as a non-armed member of the operation. Luke happened to stumble into something on the streets of Williamsport. And what Luke stumbled into, when he had actually gone down to Rogers Uniforms at Walnut and 3rd. And what Luke stumbled into was he heard a female yell for help. And he heard a female yell, "Get off me." And he heard a female yell, "Let me go." And the female was in the middle of an attempted rape. And rather than Luke Motter be on light duty, Luke Motter intercepted, not by catching the offender, because he wasn't physically able to do that, but he immediately went to the female's aid, called 911, and protected her, hovered over her until Williamsport police arrived and then began their investigation and pursuit of the offender. So what Luke Motter did was he prevented a rape on the streets of our city. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do anything other than go in and get a pair of pants. But he did what I would expect any of my staff to do, and what I think the commissioners would expect their law enforcement team to do to help anybody who is in trouble. And for that, Luke Motter receives from the office the Distinguished Service Award, awarded to Deputy Sheriff Luke Motter as a dedicated deputy awarded by the Sheriff of Lycoming County to a deputy who individually distinguishes himself or herself from performing exceptionally in service or stressful situations with exceptional tact and judgment. Deputy Motter did so while on light duty, rendering aid to a female who was being assaulted by a male. And it's signed by Chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Chairman Metzger, and myself. If you want to. And for that, Luke will receive a receive a ribbon to wear on his uniform. And I'll give this to Commissioner Metzger to give to you. We thank you for your service. We thank you for your effort. Move the words late.
I believe it was early morning, it's in my report.
That's deeply disturbing. I mean, because that section of town is, you know, people should be able to walk, they should be able to walk anywhere. So it was early morning.
It was, yeah, it was probably early.
Yeah.
Good job.
Who's next? You know?
2.2, we're going, oh, I'm sorry.
We live in a world where often easy to turn your head. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to be a part of this. I might have to testify. They may come after me out of retaliation. Now, unfortunately, we live in that kind of world. So when we see an individual step forward, and even though he's a deputy sheriff, he could have turned he's off duty. Could have turned the eye the other way, but he didn't. He did the right thing, which we all should do. We should always be attentive to what's going on around us, our surroundings, and he prevented a rape. It's extremely serious. So again, thank you, Deputy Motter.
.2, Sergeant Eric Spiegel, Distinguished Service Award, Officer of the Year.
Sergeant Spiegel is assigned to the United States Marshal Service Fugitive Task Force. He's a lead coordinator for that effort. He's there for a primary purpose of attempting to locate and apprehending dangerous individuals who are on the streets of this city and our county, as well as surrounding counties. We know what recidivism is with offenders. We know what recidivism is for the violent offenders that continue to offend. The sooner we get them off the street, the sooner everybody is much more safe. Sergeant Spiegel, if you call his cell phone, he answers. I don't think he sleeps. He answers 24/7. He never sleeps, and he eats peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Is all he eats for lunch. When I came to the commissioners for this position, which was awarded because there was funding attached, we receive about $15,000 a year in overtime from the United States Marshal Service. We received a car fully equipped with the United States Marshal Service. We received the full support of the U.S. Marshal Service when we have an escape from our prison system, which we have seldom. I've given the statistic before. We used to have 3, 4, 5 month searches with adult probation, the sheriff's office, the prison staff. Our apprehensions are as soon as 4 to 8 hours. The story I love to tell was the escape from PRC. Sergeant Spiegel's on it as fast as the warden is dispatching our team. They actually track this individual down through their contacts, and when they realize he's going to Nanticoke, when he gets there, Sergeant Spiegel and the team are already at the house before he gets there. His efforts are nothing short of astounding, which is why I recommend him for Police Officer of the Year with the Lycoming County Law Enforcement Association. This man has been responsible for apprehending 21 homicide defendants from 2014 to 2019. Not all homicides in this county, but who ended up in our county or our region. He's responsible for clearing over 300 warrants in 2014, over 215, 165 in 16, almost 317, 285 in 18, 227 in 19, and we talk about the minor offenders, Commissioner, what's clogging our prison as far as the kind of, and we always are debating, what are appropriate incarcerations. Listen to 2019 as of August 31 last year. 7 homicide apprehensions, 2 attempted homicide, 8 armed robbery, 9 rape, 8 sex offenses, 11 firearms, 18 burglary, 132 possession with intent to deliver, 18 assaults, 1 arson, and 1 escape. He's been responsible with his team and a great support from his team for doing the work that he does and without asking much of anything except to do his job. And for that, he gets recognized with the Distinguished Service Award, a dedicated deputy awarded by the Sheriff of Lycoming County to a deputy who individually distinguishes himself or herself by performing exceptionally in service or stressful situations with exceptional tact and judgment. Sergeant Spiegel did so by dedicating himself to the United States Fugitive Task Force and apprehending numerous fugitives, thereby receiving the Officer of the Year Award for Lycoming County. And I'll make note, I believe he's only the second member of the Sheriff's Office to receive the Police Officer of the Year Award, Sheriff Brewer being the first. He is a tremendous asset. We can't measure the intangibles that we talk about of what hasn't been recommitted because of what he's done. And for that, we appreciate the support you give this detail and how valuable it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to speak, Commissioner, first before we...
Sergeant, I've worked with you personally. You're the best of the best. I've seen you in action. We are tremendously blessed to have you in our community. And there's not a bad guy on the face of the earth that you can't catch. I've seen it. Thank you.
Now, did I ever tell you what the definition of mediocre is? It's the best of the worst or the worst of the best. And we don't have any mediocre police officers and sheriff deputies in this county. It's amazing at what you all do. You know, we don't hear 1/10 of the things that you do for our county and for our residents. But I've known Spiegels for a very long time. And I was very proud when I came in here as a commissioner to see the position that you were in. And it was pretty awesome. And you just kept growing from there. And Sheriff, it's an indication of your leadership. The dedication that our people have comes from the top, and Chief, you as well. So thank you for your service. Appreciate everything you do.
I would ditto that, Sergeant Spiegel. We have heard many of the folks you've captured, and we appreciate it very much. And I think that a lot of the citizens may not know who you are or what you do. In some ways, we probably want to keep it that way. We don't want them. But we certainly want to let you know that we're going to let people know that you've really done right by them. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to come forward? He wanted to wear a mask when they knew who he was, but we let him. I am. Now they know who we are. This effort wouldn't be possible without the entire team, and we have part of the team here that we have to get back to court soon. But this is a team effort. We always talk team. We talk team at our level. We talk team with other offices and departments in this county. It's one of the secrets to success that we have with our team concept, with the courts, President Judge Butts, with adult probation, and I forgot his name. Chief McCoy. Is he here? He is. Hi there. I knew your name was something like. It wouldn't be possible. We work as a team. We do it with the prison system. We do when we kick in when somebody takes off from our system. So the men and women that we have that support everything that we do, and especially the Marshal Service, it's a collaborative effort, and it's made possible because you commissioners help us to achieve that. So thank you.
Hey, Sheriff, there's a judge in the audience with the same last name, too.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I remember Judge McCoy's name. I just want to remember Chief McCoy's name. .3 Deputy Christopher Warden
for the Medal of Honor Award, Fire Rescue.
We, it's tough to sometimes explain your product and what you do and how you do it. One of our key primary functions and missions in the sheriff's office is protection of the courthouse and the court employees, the public, the county employees. We try to expand that to cover outside buildings, outside offices, and provide as many services as we can with respect to safety and security. One of our primary functions is the service that we do in the field, and we serve. We do service for about 200 plus attorneys in the form of civil service with respect to personal property levies, sheriff sales, and the like. Our fleet logs about 175,000 to 200,000 miles annually and travels to the county being the largest county in Pennsylvania. Deputy Warden happened to be performing that service in his area, his own area of where he serves civil service, and he heard a dispatch. And it was in the little quaint borough of Boys Town. And the call was a house fire, and it came in, those of you that know fire service, if it's a working box, it comes in as a working box with an elevated alarm, which means there's somebody seeing smoke or flames. Deputy Chris Warden was close by. He responded, and he arrived, I believe, just ahead of Chief Hager, and was told when he arrived, he saw smoke and flames on the backside of the house, and was told that the residents were out, but there was a dog in the house. And there was a dog in the basement. Chris did an assessment, determined he was able to get into the house. He breached the door. Our big guys are good at breaching doors. He breached the door, went into the house, did a quick search, and then recovered the dog. The dog wasn't hurt. The dog would have perished. The dog wasn't hurt, and for that, we award Chris the Medal of Honor, awarded by the Sheriff of Lycoming County to a deputy who acted outstanding in the line of duty with risk involved. Deputy Warden did so by his prompt and unselfish act of rendering aid and assistance to fellow citizens and fire personnel that resulted in the attempted saving of life, property, on or about July 1 of 2019. Thank you. Where is he? Is he here? Do you want to comment first, Commissioner, before we bring him up? Or?
I've also had the opportunity to work with Chris, and he's an outstanding deputy, one of the best also, as your entire staff is. As I'm sitting here, I don't think people noticed, you just had 3 officers respond to the courthouse, and something's going on, and you see how they respond immediately. I know when you walk into the courthouse as a person, there's all kinds of emotions going on. Really, the only good thing that you're going into the courthouse with a smile on your face is if you're doing an adoption, you're getting a passport. They're only 2 things I can really think of. Otherwise, you're kind of going in there and you're not a happy person. Yeah,
Selling a property.
Yeah, marriage certificate. There's very limited reasons why you're going into the courthouse with a happy face. So there's all kinds of emotions going on with individuals as they're in that building. And often the deputies are called and probation's called. And when there's an alert button pushed, it's like watching a CERT team in action. There is a dozen people responding within seconds to squash that disturbance. And that's a credit to our staff, our sheriffs, our probation, and the ones that rush to it. They don't know what they're rushing into. It's almost like a fire. They don't know what they're running into and who's at stake. And there was just 3 deputies that just ran out here a minute ago. So thank you, Chris, for your service and dedication.
I'm gonna add something. Over the past 3 days, we've seen on national TV officers getting shot, and it's almost commonplace anymore. But it's like the bad guys have a phone and say, let's just go shoot. So I want you to always be on guard, because it happens in every county. It happens in every county courthouse. If you're not on guard, you could be in trouble. So every day is different, and I want to make sure you return to your family, so be safe.
And I'll be honest with you, I am distracted, and I want to be careful here because I don't want to violate Mr. Lauer's civil rights by making a statement, but I am just so crushed.
Civil rights, go ahead.
No, listen to me. I am so crushed and hurt. And I don't believe that what you said you really meant. But I think it hurt a lot of people in this room. And I am quite frankly so distracted. I was going to wait until this one was finished. But I'm hurt because I don't believe that you really meant what you said, and I think it hurt a lot of people in this room. And I have to be careful because I don't want to violate your civil rights. You have a right to come here and say what you want to say. But I just want to say that I hope that maybe you have thought about maybe it's not what you meant to say. But I don't want to take away from what's going on here because it is very important. And I want to thank you, Deputy Warden, for what you've done, okay? And I just hope that maybe we can think about that. You know, words have meanings and they
Well, let me
convert.
clarify it. I would take back nothing I said. Nothing. I meant
Okay.
everything I said.
Okay.
All
Okay?
right.
That's the
Okay.
way I feel about it.
All right.
That's why our budget is into despair.
This isn't the time
Stuff
to
like
speak
that.
on
He
this.
brought
Right,
it up.
and I
have the right to defend myself.
No, that's okay.
Just
I
like him.
I didn't want you to feel you had to, and I don't want to prevent you from saying it, but I just wanted to let
Okay.
people know.
You don't
Okay,
like what I say?
thank you.
Too bad. Don't listen. Stay spot outside.
Well, yeah. I like, after we get done these, then we'll do.
Can we do the one more and then I'll get my crew out here? Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We're gonna jump to 2.6, Jennifer Hartley from the Sheriff's Office. This is your 10-year pen. And she started in February 21st, 2010.
Jennifer arrived in our office in 2018. She came from the PRC system. Sometimes she drives me crazy, but I gotta tell you, she's nuts, but I gotta tell you, I get more comments from her from the public about how she is with her personality and how personable she is, and she's just such a tribute to the county with her interacting with the public like she does. She's a clerk 3, she handles PFAs, transport orders, personal property, and she's, honestly, I have to say it, don't remind me, she's a delight to have as an employee. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
I think you have it.
Jennifer, you have any comments?
No. I enjoy working with everybody in the sheriff's office. You know, I'm crazy. I'll be the first one to admit it. I'm not ashamed to say it.
Well, look, thank you for coming with such a great spirit also, and spending 10 years with that spirit, and it's not going away, so.
I can't believe it's been 10 years. That was a quick 10 years.
It was.
Yeah. And your sister's here?
Yeah, she is.
Yep.
Maybe the job's making you crazy, you know.
Okay.
Sure.
I didn't want to say that. Can we take a photo?
Thank you.
You're nuts.
Okay.
Picture of your sister?
Yeah, sure. Get up here, Ern.
Sure. Get a picture.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wayne Benedict.
Oh, I didn't know she was with us, and then she sent us Jennifer.
Sorry.
I would get in trouble.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for the kind comments. Okay, we'll excuse our group. Thank you.
So we're gonna go to this one.
And for the ones that don't know, her sister's also employed by the county for adult probation. Thank you, ladies.
Okay. So we're going to move real quick to 6.1. This is for the 2020 National Court Reporting and Captioning Week, which is February 8th through the 15th. And the Commissioner has a proclamation to read.
Proclamation. Whereas for millennia, individuals have wanted the spoken word translated into text to record history, and to accomplish this task today, rely on court reporters. And whereas court reporters translate the spoken word into text and create essential records, guarding and preserving our history's most important documents, including the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the Emancipation Proclamation. And whereas court reporters wrote by hand until the stenotype machine was invented by Miles Bartholomew in 1877, with the last handwritten transcript recorded in the early 1970s. The first stenograph machines punched holes into paper until the ink-to-paper trays were introduced. The stenograph machine was a court reporter's most used recording method until the 1980s, when computers became available to advance the profession. And whereas on average, court reporters must be able to type at least 225 words per minute, which is more than 5 times as fast as the average typing speed. And whereas court reporters use a stenotype keyboard to transcribe their notes, unlike a typical QWERTY keyboard, the stenotype keyboard has only 22 keys. A stenotype chord can stand for a syllable, a word, or even an entire phrase. And whereas court reporters must be well versed in not only shorthand, but a wide variety of legal and medical terms as well. And whereas court reporters work in all 5 Lycoming County Common Pleas courtrooms, preserving the spoken word, ensuring a complete, accurate, and secure legal record. And whereas court reporters perform work outside the courtroom, heavily relied on by Lycoming County offices such as the District Attorney and Public Defender to transcribe crucial records. And whereas in Lycoming County, court reporters are notary publics who are authorized to administer oaths to witnesses and certify their transcripts of the proceedings are a verbatim account of what was said. And whereas court reporters are in essence the official keepers of courtroom records, court reporters not only record all that is said in the courtroom, but they are personally responsible for maintaining evidence. And whereas court reporters preserve our nation's history and are guardians of the record. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Lycoming County Commissioners declare that Court Reporting and Captioning Week be established during the week of February 8th to 15th, 2020. In witness whereof, we've set our hand and seal this 6th day of February, 2020. County of Lycoming, Scott L. Metzger, Chairman, Tony R. Messere, Vice Chairman, Richard Marabito, Secretary.
We have Judge Butts here. Would you like to make a comment?
In your proclamation, you had a lot of the history that I was going to go over, but which is fine. I'm just going to go over some other things that maybe people don't realize. Initially, court reporters started out as stenographers, where they would pen and paper take down the words that people had spoken in a court proceeding or another proceeding. Then mask reporters, machines were created where it was discovered that individuals could either type or speak faster than individuals could write. And that was part of the basis of the conversion from shorthand reporters to mask or the court reporters that we have in Lycoming County. The computerized machines that we have revolutionized the world of stenography. They are more like a computer than a typewriter. They have microprocessors, individual keys with different sensitivity settings, and LCD screens where the shorthand words appear in English. So those that we know as court reporters don't just work in the court area. When you cited that this is Court Reporter and Captioners Week, I just thought I would educate the public about the other opportunities that individuals who are trained in this way can perform. There is CART captioning, which is communication access real-time translation, which is live event captioning. It allows court reporters to provide more personalized services for deaf and hard of hearing people. CART providers accompany deaf and hard of hearing clients as needed, for example, to college classes, to provide an instant conversion of speech into text using the stenotype machine linked to a laptop computer. Then there's also legislative reporters. They transcribe proceedings in the U.S. Congress and in state legislatures throughout the country. There's also real-time broadcast captioners who are called steno captioners. They use court reporting skills on the stenotype machine to provide captions of live television programs for deaf and hard of hearing viewers through real-time technology that instantly produces readable English text. So when you go to a restaurant or a bar, they provide captions for local stations and national networks. So if you go to a facility, like I said, a restaurant or a bar, and you look at the TV and the sound is muted, but you see the words, that's a real-time court reporter preparing that information on the spot. And then there are the individuals that we recognize here today who are all here with us today, the official court reporter. They are front and center at all cases, including the controversial or famous ones, criminal trials, divorces, government corruption trials, lawsuits, ensuring that an accurate, complete, and secure record of the proceedings is produced. Official court reporters may also provide real time during a courtroom setting to allow participants to read on a display screen or computer monitor what is being said instantaneously. While people think that, or might think that going completely computerized would make more sense with voice recognition software, an electronic system may be fast, but can never really actually match the accuracy of a live reporter. An easy way to understand this is to consider the ability to distinguish sounds that need to be recorded versus those that don't. So for example, if we're in a court proceeding and someone drops something like a book or a pitcher of water, which seems to happen all the time, a computerized system, an electronic system, has no way of discerning what that sound is, and it's going to continue to try and figure out how to translate that noise into something and make it part of the record. Where with individual live court reporters, they can sit there and see that's just the picture, and they don't have to worry about including that in the transcript of the proceeding. Speed, you noted that in your proclamation. Court reporters are able to match the accuracy rate of speech-to-text dictation systems, all while, again, allowing the human ability to discern what's important for the record and what isn't important for the record. The speed is only part of the picture. The ability to provide transcripts to lawyers, judges promptly is also important. That's why the use of live reporters with a software translation system is an ideal setup, because we can have the transcripts prepared within hours or overnight, especially in very large or complicated trials, enabling the attorneys to have that information and to help them best represent their clients. In the Pennsylvania Rules of Judicial Administration, there's a section that governs the qualifications of a court reporter. According to Wikipedia, Hunt and Peck typists, of which I consider myself to be one, 37 words a minute is what you type. 27 words a minute if you're copying something. 37 is if you remember it and you're typing it from memory. An official court reporter must perform at 95% accuracy, 180 words per minute for literary. So for something like this, that would be 180 words a minute they would be required to take down. 200 words a minute for a jury instruction, and testimony and question and answer at 225 words a minute. And again, with 95% accuracy. But the most important role they have that I don't think people realize is that when a hearing is over, a court reporter has either an order or a transcript to prepare. So when my work as a judge, or the judges that are here, when we're done, we get to move on to something else, yet they have to come back and revisit everything we did, either by generating an order that memorializes what we talked about or the actual transcript of the proceeding. Now it's interesting because yesterday there was this photograph in the paper with the former President Judge Raup and the senior court reporter back then, Henry Feast, standing next to a more than 1,600-page transcript of a homicide trial. Now that's a homicide trial where I don't believe the death penalty was involved in that case. And I know the most recent death penalty case we did, which was mine, jury selection alone took a whole week. And that was 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And when you figure that a day's worth of a transcript is about 400 pages, and thinking that not only is the court reporter taking it down, but then has to go back and transcribe it, which is the preparation of the work that was done in the courtroom, is just an incredible responsibility for them. So we are a court of record, which means that everything we do is taken down and then is reviewed by the appellate courts, whether it's the Commonwealth or the Superior Court, or in some situations like a homicide trial with a death penalty, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. So we need court reporters with a combination of a strong work ethic, incredible attention to detail, patience, dedication, and loyalty to the purpose of the court. So I'm proud to say that we have court reporters here in Lycoming County that exemplify those traits. And I really appreciate them, and I don't know if Judge McCoy and Judge Tira want to say a few words, but I know that I consider my court reporter like having a third arm, because it's another set of eyes. And we joked about it. There was a post on Facebook. Why do we need real-life court reporters anymore when we have all this talk-to-text dictation? And I said, because judges need somebody to talk to. Because we're not allowed to talk to one side or the other, so who do we have to talk to but our court reporters? So at least on behalf of me personally and on behalf of the 29th Judicial District and all these awesome court reporters that work with us, thank you very much for the opportunity to recognize all their hard work as truly unsung heroes of the court system.
You know, when I go over there and watch a hearing, one of the things that's amazing and amusing is watching the court report. I mean, they're sitting there, and regardless of how fast somebody's speaking or how slow, it's just a steady hand going like this. And they're gazing, and they're, oh, Nikki looks pretty good today. You just sit there and say, it's amazing how fast they can react to the language. And it's so nonchalant to them. It's like, it's effortless. And sometimes, you know, sometimes that's the reason I go over and listen to the hearings, because it is amazing what they do. So I appreciate everything they do.
Thank you very much. I think that the judge's phrase, loyalty to the court, is also loyalty to the truth and the integrity of making sure that, I think she was saying, making sure that what you get down is an accurate history, because that is so important, especially on appeal. So we do appreciate it, and it is true that you are the unsung heroes, because most of our public doesn't necessarily come in contact with you. But what you do is very important, and we thank you for it.
I worked with these individuals personally, and they're amazing how professional they are. I've needed court orders overnight. They've typed them for me, and what baffles me, and two things, is how when you have parties talking over each other and how they're able to decipher that. And a lot of times the referees, they stop the court and say, hey, I can only type one person at a time. And the transcripts, I've read through numerous transcripts, and we're talking word for word what was said in that courtroom that day. And like Judge Spud said, their day's not done at 5 o'clock. They're home, and they're doing transcripts, they're doing court orders, and taking care of their families at the same time. So thank you for all you do, and we appreciate it.
It's really their day, so I'd like to let them, or we can do one with and one without.
Okay, then
How's
one with
that?
the judge,
And then
that'd be
Judge
great.
Boyd and Judge Steering, if you want.
I think we're gonna get one
Can we
with the
do one more?
judges, yeah.
My favorite court reporter.
Thank you.
Ready? Okay, now we'll go back to the Employee Service Awards to 2.4, Jeff Horn, PRC, for his 30-year pin, and his service at the county started February 4th, 1990.
So Jeff Horn works third shift at the Lycoming County Pre-Release Center, and he couldn't make it this morning. But I wanted to read this into the record just because it's a significant amount of demonstration, dedication that he demonstrated putting in 30 years. All but 1 year working in county corrections. Jeff Horn's former military service included service in the United States Army and the Army Reserves. In Operation Desert Storm, Jeff was responsible for guarding Iraqi prisoners of war. On the home front, over the past 30 years, Jeff has primarily been guarding prisoners at the Pre-Release Center, where Lycoming County has benefited from his discipline and hard work. Jeff is reliable, organized, neat, diligent, and humble. He is knowledgeable and very willing to share his understanding of corrections and the Pre-Release Center with his coworkers. Jeff has a knack for taking complex subject matter, like the chemistry involved in drug testing, and explaining it to in layperson terms that even I can understand. Jeff Horn, thank you for your service to your country and the Lycoming County community over your very corrections-focused career. Thank you.
I've known Jeff for over 30 years. He's an outstanding person. I'm actually fortunate to be in a Bible study on Monday nights with him. He's a man of integrity, and he's been a very, very valuable employee to the county. Thank you, John, for the kind words, and we'll give you his pen if you can pass it on to him. Thank you. Commissioners.
No, just likewise want to thank him for, we've had an opportunity, I don't know him as well as you do, but we've had an opportunity to meet with him and when we were out at the PRC, and 30 years is a long time, so the way you described him as someone who's very committed.
Thank you.
2.5, Stacy Lewis from Planning Department, 10-year pin. She began her service February 1st, 2010.
Good morning. I've only worked with Stacy since October, so I'm bringing up her supervisor, Amy, to say a few words. Stacy is a very good employee and very meticulous, although we do have to make sure that her filing drawers do not have cats or dogs in them, you know, because she would truly like to work at RMS and have a cat on her desk every day. And she does volunteer for the SPCA, or the Humane Society. SPCA, every week, which is why she's sporting a little bit of a bruise. One of the dogs got a little overzealous on her, but I'll let Amy speak.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
I've known Stacy for almost 12 years now. I actually met her before her tenure at Lycoming County when I was in the land records office. She would come in with documents to receive a UPI. So Stacy began her career as a clerk, front face, welcoming everybody. And due to her energetic personality, her willingness to learn things, her eagerness to learn things, and her organizational skills, Stacy worked her way through into the Land Records Department, right into what I previously did. Stacy maintains our parcel layer within the GIS system for all to see. And she took that, not having any prior academic experience, learning the software, and it's very vast software. So I admire Stacy. Stacy has taken this time to learn it, and she has exceeded my abilities in editing, so I'm very proud of her. I'm proud to have her on a team. She is the first person to come to me with a new idea to streamline and make things efficient. And she reaches out to other departments with a friendly face to enable us to work interdepartmentally in a smoother fashion. So I look forward to the next 10 years with Stacy. Thank you very much, Stacy.
Thank you. Would you like to say anything? Okay.
We did have to turn down her cat, her support cat request.
We recently reinstated an employee program, which is we celebrate the employees' birthdays. And we celebrate them monthly with lunch. And we had our January birthdays, and the commissioners, we had an opportunity to share birthday wishes and lunch with them that day. Stacy was there that day, so it was an opportunity to meet Stacy, get to know a little bit about her and her family, and she was also able to meet other employees. It was a great day. And so thank you very much for being there. It's a pleasure to have you work for the county. Thank you.
And Stacy, I want to thank you because that work you do is another one of the unsung heroes. When people go, they rely on that information to be accurate. They rely on the UPI numbers to be correct. And many of us take it for granted that it is going to be, and it's because of your commitment that it is. So we want to thank you about that.
Did those
Something else that planning does. We do all the UPIs.
There's a lot of
Adam Lorson, for his 10-year pin. Department is APO, and he started his service February 22nd, 2010.
Good morning, Chief. How are you? First, I'd like to thank Sheriff Luss for not knowing me. But I appreciate what your staff does. You should be proud of them. It is a team effort, and I appreciate it. I wish they were here to hear that.
APO is our lead partner.
I did some statistics before I came. The average length of a probation officer's career is about 3.5 years. The caseload is about 70. Officer Lorison's caseload runs about 120. He is on Judge McCoy's domestic violence task force. And what people don't know, throughout his tenure, he has saved a life by assisting an individual that was overdosed and administering Narcan. Just last week in Columbia County, a probation officer was assaulted, Berwick, where they tried to take his gun. That's the kind of job we do on a daily basis, and for someone to do it for 10 years, it says a lot. He's not only active in the office, but outside in the community where he coaches baseball and softball. So I appreciate the job that he does. Thank you, Adam.
Do you have anything you'd like to say?
No. Yes, he does.
I like to say something. I did what Adam did for 17 of my 32 years, I did what Adam did. And what it is you handle the assault caseload. You handle people with domestic violence. You handle people that are very angry. And you have to be able to de-escalate situations. And you have to have a calming presence. It's a very tough position because it's very intense. Adam brings that to the table. He has worked hand in hand with Judge McCoy on the domestic violence task team and with Wise Options for Women. He does his job extremely well. I watched it, I supervised him, and I was proud to be your supervisor. And thank you for all your service. It's a very tough position, and you've done it well.
Adam, I'm going to add, when I go home at night, unlike you, my wife says, "How was your day?" I got to tell her, it was a pretty difficult day today. It is an honor to be here celebrating everybody's accomplishments. 10 years is a pretty long time. 30 years is unbelievable, and for all the working people in Lycoming County. I don't think there's a time that we don't mention in our meetings around our table how valuable as far as looking at you as a resource, how valuable we have it here in Lycoming County. Thanks for your service. Continue the great job.
Thank you, Adam, and I bet you know those 120 people on your caseload. I bet you know almost every one of them in a personal way. And maybe you don't see every one of them every month, but I can just tell from what people have said that that's your personality. So thank you very much for doing that.
And thank you for your dedication to the youth in your community, too, Coach.
2.8, Paula Singer, for her 10-year pin. She's from the courts, and she started her service with the county January 11th, 2010.
So Paula works
mostly with Judge Lavecchio, who unfortunately had a medical issue and is unexpectedly not here today. But luckily, all of us get to work with all of the court reporters. So I've had the opportunity to work with Paula. She started the same time that I became a judge. And like all of the court reporters, the one thing that wasn't said earlier that I'm not sure that a lot of people realize is the vicarious trauma that they deal with every day by what they listen to. Because while we can sit in the courtroom and hear things and hear them but not hear them, they have to hear them. And they have to then put it down in writing. Then they have to relive it when they do their orders and do their transcripts, which is something I'm not sure that a lot of people understand. And our court reporters all have different personalities. I have court reporters who walk out of my courtroom crying after what they've seen and heard, and other court reporters, I think, who keep it inside. But I congratulate Paolo on her 10 years of being a court reporter with us, and I know Judge Vecchio wishes he could be here to celebrate that as well.
She was transcribing it, Judge.
Paula, how many years did you have before?
Yeah, you were here before, right?
100.
I had 15 and a half, and then I left for 8, and I came back, and this is 10.
It's really 25 and a half.
Yeah, Paula was here when I first got here back in the mid-'80s, and her husband's a retired deputy sheriff. And I have had the pleasure of coaching her son in baseball, and outstanding family, outstanding dedication. Everything she does, right down to being a grandma.
You know, Judge McCoy, I'm really glad you brought that to our attention, because that is a profound thing that I don't think anyone recognizes, that to be in a trial, and when you're there as an attorney or you're there as a judge, you're in a sort of, I don't want to say a dispassionate role, but you're in there weighing it, and certainly it affects all of us as human beings, but as you said, to have to hear it, write it, and then make sure that it's correct. Whether it's the number of stab wounds or whatever it is. So I think I appreciate you telling us that. Thank you for what you've done for us.
Oh, I was wrong. I lied.
Here?
She was hiding behind the
Oh, okay.
podium back there.
Okay. 2.9 is Rebecca Lohner. She's here to receive her 10-year pin from Judge Lavecchio's office. Started her service January 4th, 2010.
I'll speak for Becky. I know that when Judge McCoy and Judge Lavecchio were both elected, the question was, I met with them at a restaurant that doesn't exist anymore. I remember we had lunch and we were talking about different things, and one of the things was the option of maybe looking for someone within the county or bringing someone with them from outside the county. And I think and I don't mean to steal Judge McCoy's thunder, but I think both Judge McCoy and Judge Lavecchio were both very devoted and dedicated to their assistants, because they weren't just people they worked with. They were people that had become friends and become close confidants, as I think we all discover that our assistants are. And so if there was a excuse me, question as to whether or not he would be bringing Becky with him, there was no doubt that Becky needed to be there, because maybe I shouldn't say this, but I will, because Becky knew his crazy better than anybody else, so that she could manage him. We love Judge Lavecchio, we absolutely do. I mean, he called me at 10 o'clock last night instead of being calm and relaxing because of what has been going on with him medically, but, just to make sure everything was okay, because he's just very interested in everything. So I know that he thinks very highly of Becky, and I'm no doubt feel that he's disappointed that he wasn't able to be here to express personally how much he values her service to him as an assistant. So we thank you very much. And it's been kind of nice to be able to get to know the different employees too that have come in. Both Becky and Jerry in their own ways have made our system more efficient. Becky works with our conflicts assignments, so when individuals can't be represented by the Public Defender's Office, she assigns them to the conflict staff that we have, and then keeping track of who's finished with their cases and who's eligible to take more, and that's a huge responsibility. So I know that it would grind us to a halt, I think, if defendants didn't have a timely appointment of representation. So for a number of reasons, we thank and appreciate Becky for all her hard work. Thank you.
Judge Lavecchio, being my administrative judge for the last 12 years I was with the county, I was often in Judge Lavecchio's office, and I can safely say that you are Judge Lavecchio's right arm, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I know he would definitely state that if he was here today. Thank you, Becky, for everything.
Thank you very much, because the judges can't work unless they have people like you who are making sure that things are moving along. That's a real testament.
Wait, are you blue? Is your suit blue or black? You didn't get the memo this morning. Everybody it was in black and white except for you.
Oh, I didn't get the memo, right? It's a blue suit.
You didn't get the memo either.
We're sort of brain twins here.
2.10, Jerry Rook, receiving her 10-year pin from Judge McCoy's office in her service date, January 4th, 2010.
Well, first, I'm lucky that my two people who make sure everything I do is done well are here today being honored. Jerry for her 10 years and Lisa as a court reporter. Jerry deals with everything outside of the courtroom and makes sure everything that goes out is perfect, and Lisa deals with everything in my courtroom and make sure that that comes out perfect. And though I'm here for Jerry to be honored for 10 years of her service with the county, this is actually the 24th year that Jerry and I have worked together. She worked with me extensively as, I think, my longest term secretary in private practice, and then came with me here to the county. I think one of the greatest things I can say about Jerry is her passion for everything that she does. She takes very deeply and very personally everything that my office does and does not settle for anything not being done correctly. Probably to the point of driving us crazy sometimes because it upsets her if something isn't done right. But it makes me look good, and that's what's important. The other thing is, we have Jedi here who, I get a lot of credit for this courthouse and the dog in the courthouse program, but I really shouldn't get the credit. I'm the name behind what pushed it and pushed to get funding and financing, but the person who did all the work, does the work every day is Jerry. And I know that, I think it's probably one of her biggest fulfillments of her job in working with the county is Jedi, and her ability to work with kids and victims in our county. Just before coming over here, she was in the DA's office working with a victim in a case who was preparing for a hearing today. So she also deals with the vicarious trauma now that we shielded her from until Jedi came along. But now she deals with what goes on with the victims in our community, so.
You know, last week when we had our birthday lunch, I received a email from Jerry, and she said, I might be a little bit late because I have a situation with a juvenile case where Jedi might be needed. It's a very serious case, and so her dedication to her position and strive for perfection is noted throughout the county. Everybody sees it. And you're a wonderful handler for Jedi. Thank you.
When you introduced the dog, you know, I was a skeptic. What are we doing having a dog? You know? And then, you know, seeing Jerry, how she handles it, until you see how the young children react in adverse conditions, that dog is their life. I mean, it's something that just eases their mind and pain. It's incredible, and I'm glad the dog is here in the county, and I'd argue for that dog in the future. I also noticed that with Judge Lavecchio and Judge McCoy coincides with your election, right? So you brought him in.
Correct.
You brought Jerry in, and Rebecca as well. So as long as you are the judge, I guess you'll have a job, right?
Well, as long as she's the judge, we're going to be blessed to have you. I was somewhat skeptical on the dog, too. Not having grown up with a dog, but having heard from constituents about how that animal has helped them, and your commitment to making sure that the dog is safe, and we see you out there walking. But anyway, thank you. Thank you for doing that, but thank you also for making our judges shine, because when they do, the whole county does. Thanks.
I tried to get Jedi in.
We're going to jump back to 6.0 and go to 6.2 to present the proclamation for Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month in Lycoming County.
I'd like to read the proclamation. I know that I need to go to a 1.5 in classes. But whereas teen dating violence is a serious violation that can affect the young person's safety, development, and sense of comfort. Perpetrated by the current or past intimate partner, dating violence takes many forms, including physical, sexual, or emotional abuse, and can occur in a person or through electronic communications and social media. Whereas violent dating relationships can lead to depression, anxiety, drug and alcohol use, and thoughts of suicide, and victims may continue to experience detrimental effects throughout their lives. Whereas Lycoming County recognizes the urgency needed in addressing this problem and recommit to preventing it by educating our youth about its dangers and consequences. Affirm the basic human right to be free from violence and abuse. Whereas dating violence may occur physical force, such as kicking, hitting, and shoving, emotional abuse, consistent monitoring, and isolation, or sexual assault. Dating violence can occur in any relationship, whether it is casual, short-term, or long-term, monogamous. And many young persons can experience dating violence or other unhealthy relationships, behaviors, regardless of gender, race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status. Whereas approximately 1 in 10 teenagers reports being victimized physically or sexually by, and it is feared that many other incidents of dating violence are not reported. Whereas 25% of the parents and caregivers do not talk to their teens about dating violence. Whereas the cycle of violence can begin with anyone at any time. And as a society, we must acknowledge that we each have a role to play in teaching our children about healthy relationships. In their formative years, teens are influenced by their early relationships, and the example set by those around them can have lasting consequences. Whereas we all have a role to play in ending dating violence and fostering safe, healthy environments for our young people. This month, let us seize our responsibility to set positive examples for Lycoming County's teenagers by celebrating and demonstrating healthy relationships. And let us recommit to ensuring all people who may be in an abusive relationship have access to help and support. Together, we can reach a day when no young person knows the pain caused by dating violence. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of Lycoming County, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2020 as Teen Dating Month Violence Awareness Month in the County of Lycoming, in witness whereof we have set our hand and seal the 6th day of February 2020. Scott Mesker, Chairman, Tony Messere, Vice Chairman, and Richard Maravito, Secretary.
Judge Boyd?
First, unfortunately, he has left, but I do want to state Adam Larson, who received his tenure pin, was one of the founding members of my fatality review team, which we created, I believe, about 6 years ago to review domestic violence homicides in our county. Out of that, we've reviewed so far 6 homicides, and one theme that has arisen from many of them is that the victims in these homicides, much of their abusive relationships went back to their teenage years. Maybe not necessarily with the person who they ultimately were killed by, but it was clear that they never had the opportunity to understand what a healthy relationship was, as many of them dealt with violence even in their early dating years. So that was one of the things that has come out of our review, and one of the areas that we want to spend some time concentrating on and get some education around. So I appreciate the commissioners being willing to recognize this month as Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. I'm going to let Erin from Wise Options just briefly tell you what they have planned for this month so that you know what is happening with it.
Morning.
Hello. Hi everyone who's left. So for this month we have decided as a team to do somewhat of a maybe risky billboard. You'll see 2 of them up in town, and it's called Do You Speak Emoji? And it's for adults to recognize that their teens may be talking in a language that they don't quite understand. And our hopes for this is that it generates some car conversation. We're hoping adults are saying, what does that mean? And we hope the teens a little mortified that they have to talk to their parent about this, because it's quite an uncomfortable conversation. So look for our billboards that are up. One's headed into Newberry, and the other is on 3rd Street where the walkway and the dip in the road is over there on 3rd Street. So look.
Railway Street, I believe.
Yes. Yep. So look for our billboards up, and hopefully it's going to generate some car conversation about texting and sexting and where electronic devices play a huge part in teen dating violence. Something else that we're doing is working with the high school and the middle schools, doing some prevention education with the students. I just did a program with the ELECT group up at the high school, and we had an amazing conversation, and some education was given to them about healthy relationships and safe relationships. So that's where we're moving forward. Some groups and some education at the high school.
And we want to thank you for all the efforts you put into our community. Wise Home. It's a fantastic organization. We appreciate you.
I'm glad, Judge, you pointed out to us about that connection. I would be interested to know, we have a real issue with teen suicide, and I'd be curious to know whether, issues of teen dating violence also plays into what happens there. I don't know whether they've done any studies nationally. Maybe that's something that can be looked into. But thank you, Wise Options.
Thank you.
Okay. 4.0 personnel actions, Roxanne Greco.
Morning, Roxanne.
Diff. Good morning. In the adult probation office, we have as a full-time replacement adult probation officer, pay grade APO, $21.95 an hour, effective February 18th, 2020. At the prison, Joshua Ward, as a full-time replacement correctional officer relief, pay grade CO1, $17.23 an hour, effective February 9th, 2020.
Any discussion on these two personnel actions? Now can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the personnel action.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried, thank you.
Moving on to 4.2, Commissioners, we're asking you to approve the HR activity for the month of January 2020.
Motion to accept the,
I'll move to.
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
6.3, Director McDermott, the status of text behind contract.
Director.
Commissioners, first and foremost, I'd ask that we change this item from a report and information item to an action item. And I'll explain. As you know, we currently approved a contract with Text Behind last week, I believe. And so there have been some legal proceedings that we've been made aware of, and I'm seeking your approval to officially rescind that contract until further legal review can be accomplished in the status of potential follow-on business.
I make a motion to rescind the status of the tax fee.
I'll second and make a comment. Just so people are aware, it's not anything remiss on our part in terms of the legal action. It has to do.
No, Commissioner, it's legal review and the potential of new additional language in the contract.
Due to outside parties, third parties.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Thank you.
Move to the action items. 7.1, Shannon Rossman, the Second Amendment to Agreement with Williamsport Municipal Water Authority.
Good morning, Shannon.
Morning, Commissioners. The Williamsport Municipal Water Authority is requesting a time extension Mosquito Valley Road Water Main Relocation Project. This has been tied in with the bridge issue in Armstrong Township, and they will need a little extra time to finish the project because of the issues with regard to the bridge relocation. The contract request extension is for the end of 2020.
Any discussion for site action item? I can have motion accepted.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Thank you.
7.2 Chelsea Blair, RACP grant agreement for the Lycoming County levy improvement project.
Morning, Chelsea.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is the actual formal grant agreement for the RACP grant in the amount of $1 million. The grant will last until January 2021. The special requirement that's part of this grant is any material that is steel-based in the project, which there are some, requires it to be U.S. steel. With that requirement, it must be U.S. steel of 75% or greater in that actual product.
Any further discussion?
75%.
Good to see we're using U.S. steel, American steel.
And good to see we're moving out on this levy project, which is of great concern to everyone.
Motion to accept the agreement?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
And thanks to both Senator Yaw and to Governor Wolf
Very much so.
for getting us this $1 million.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, it's a commitment by both of them.
Good example working together. Thank you.
7.3 Director McDermott to approve resolution 2020-06 to appoint a new county assistant solicitor.
Yes, Commissioners we're seeking your approval today on resolution 2020-06 to resolution to add Morgan and Madden as assistant solicitor, whereas the county appointed solicitors and assistant solicitors by resolution 2014-25 dated 4 December 2014. Whereas resolution 2014-25 has been previously amended to add additional assistant solicitors, and whereas the county desires to appoint an additional assistant solicitor. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Morgan M. Madden is appointed as assistant solicitor at the rate of $100 per hour, effective the first day of November 2019. Be it further resolved that Rachel M. Planis is hereby removed as an assistant solicitor effective the first day of November 2019. Be it further resolved that resolution 2014-25 as previously amended otherwise remains in effect as approved. Duly adopted at a regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lycoming County held the 6th day of February 2020.
Any discussion on this resolution? Now can I have a motion to pass it?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have to have some suspense in the meeting.
Who do we suspend?
Commissioners comment?
I have done it this time.
I have none at this time.
None?
Public comment? Come to the podium, please, and state your name. Address, please.
Scott Miller, 822 Tucker Street, Williamsport, PA.
Morning, Scott.
I'm going to deviate from what I came here for
Okay.
because of things said earlier. My daughter, which a couple of y'all have met, her name is Miriam. She's named after my great-grandmother, her great-great-grandmother. Her great-great-grandmother, 100 years ago, was a suffragette. A lot of people mistake or downplay that the suffragette movement was just for the right to vote. No, I'm not sure about Pennsylvania, but in a lot of states, women couldn't own property. If your husband died, you went to the county poor farm and they took your property. Women in a lot of states didn't have the right to their own paycheck that they worked for. In a lot of states, if you were a married woman or single, your husband or your father could go down and take your paycheck. And if they gave the woman the paycheck, it was like they just threw away the money. The husband or father could go down and say, no, you're going to pay me. So I find it offensive to some of the comments said earlier today. Very offensive. You know, that's why I named my daughter after my great-grandmother, hoping that she would do that. My great-grandmother, who I knew when I was just a kid, told me a woman can do anything a man can do, and I'll add to that, they prove it every day. The other thing was, earlier, was about light duty. I did sheet metal work some years ago. I sliced my hand open. This is the scar. I could have sat at home and collected 2 weeks of disability. The very next day I went in with my hand bandaged up. I cleaned it and bandaged it up myself. You know, I'd been cut before. The owner of the company, my boss, said, why are you coming in? You know, you should just, I said, you know, I can get paid to sit on my tushy, or I can come in here and at least direct the helper what to do, and I got one good hand, I can hand him the drill or the hammer and do something that at least be productive. You'll have to forgive me for the way that I put it, but the way I was raised was you work till your ass falls off, then you pick it back up and get back to work. And kind of playing into what I came here for, I'm a disabled person. I have 2 herniated discs and COPD. I have a job out at the airport at the little parking booth. I can't do very much, you know, and I work the Sundays 6 a.m. till 2 p.m. And 2 2-week paychecks for a month, after taxes, I get $202.36. Sorry, I didn't bring the pay stubs to prove it. Prior to taking that job, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania paid $135 for my Part B medical and $15 a month food stamps. I work 4 8-hour days for a net increase of $52. And people say, well, why do you do that? I'm a conservative. I'm a conservative to the point where even if it's to my detriment, I'm conservative. You know, I figured it out, and it works out to about, I work for about $1.65 an hour, but there's not a whole lot of jobs that I could do. You know, I wish I wasn't in such bad shape. And that kind of brings me to why I did come here, is I saw in the paper yesterday where y'all commenting about the airport cutting and all. And I don't know, it's well above my pay grade. I get $7.25 an hour, so it's well above my pay grade, all that stuff. But I just wanted to share with y'all the letter that they gave me. You know, they put in new technology stuff for paying the meters, and when they were putting it in, we asked, so does this mean, you know, we're on our way out? Oh, no, your job is secure, your job is secure. As of March 30th, we are no longer needed. You know, and I'm going to miss that extra $50 a month. And it's costing taxpayers in Pennsylvania $150 a month, besides the $30, $40 that I paid in overall taxes, FICA, state, local, etc. You know, so, you know, when you talk about these things, you know, it's not just my little nonsense, little minimum wage job that goes, but it also impacts every able-bodied working person, you know, and if $150 isn't much to anybody in Lycoming County, I accept checks, cash, money orders, gift cards, you know, and I hope that y'all, after the meeting, will take a quick gander at this, so you know that I'm not lying about, you know, half a dozen of us. And almost everybody I work with is elderly or disabled in some sort. You know, we're not there to get rich. You know, we have a lot of people come that just, it's their first time coming. Where do I park? Is this where I park? Where do I drop people off? Where's the handicap parking? You know, I mean, some of the silliest questions. You know, the ticket dispensing machine will jam up with paper. People can't get in. Sometimes the exit gate sticks up, you know. You could have been parked there for a month and just drive on out. There goes, you know, the $7, $8 a day, you know. So, you know, and I realize it's well above my pay grade, like I say, why and the reasons for it, but I have long wished that they had flights that went to like New York City or to the DC area. Some years ago when the gas boom was coming here, I had a couple gas workers say, yeah, I wish I could fly to Pittsburgh. It only goes to Philly. If I go to Philly then to Pittsburgh, I might as well just drive to Pittsburgh. You know, and I realize the gas boom has faded immensely, but yeah, just going to Philly only, and I don't want any government money really thrown in there, but it seems like somehow there could be a public-private partnership to increase the usage of the airport.
Scott, we'll be meeting with the authority, and I'm glad to look at your letter after the meeting. Appreciate your comments. Thank you. This time of year, public comment.
Yes.
Come to the podiums, please.
Todd Lauer again, Jersey Shore. Well, since I seemed to everybody, I guess I pissed everybody off, which I really don't care, but you're taking it the wrong way. I wasn't being negative towards women. I mean, if a man can go out there and perform light duty, whatever. I think light duty should be done away with. If you can't perform your duties up to the job description, go home. That's the bottom line. Go home. Okay? So, and now I want to get back to, and this is on Sheriff Lusk here. I'm going to go back to a comment I made when I commented about Judge LeVecchio here on Trooper Thompson. And I want to know what Sheriff Lusk's comment is going to be, because he does so good at minimalizing accountability on these law enforcement officers. So I'm just wondering what his, how he's going to minimize this state trooper last week that was arrested and charged on what he did.
Mr. Lauer, if I could interrupt you a minute, could you please direct your comments and questions at us and not at another?
No, I didn't direct it to him. I directed you. I said this about him.
Okay. Just please ask us.
Yep.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So and now you got one more thing here, okay? This is to the budget. Now, this is, I'm going to identify the problem in Lycoming County here, and we have a Sun Gazette back there. Right here's a letter from the editor of the Sun Gazette identifying the problem and then turning around and agreeing with the problem. So it's going to start out, it doesn't sound like it, but it will. Okay, Major League Baseball, please say move to cut local franchise isn't so. Okay, now it goes on to say, paid, this is the Sun Gazette now, the paper that says everything's so good here. Facilities have been updated, paid for with local tax dollars to meet the standards set by Major League Baseball. Okay, oh, that's Major League Baseball telling we want here, you spend your millions if you want us to come. Okay, well, I disagree with that. Okay, here's the good stuff, okay? The tax dollars, now remember, this is the Sun Gazette, our own paper. This man right back here. The tax dollars pumped into Bowman Field has not been done because local taxpayers were demanding it. Rather, it was the requirement of Major League for them to field a team here. And because local taxpayers have footed the bill, even when there were other pressing needs that the money should have funded. Right there's the problem. Okay, I just identified the problem. Sun Gazette identified the problem, and they agreed with the problem, saying, keep the ball field here. We don't need to be paying for ball fields and river walks and rails to trails. Either we have to put the money to things that are really needed, or, you know, this other stuff's not, it just isn't right. We don't need to be putting money into this. This is the problem of why we can't fix the dike. Why? I don't want to pay for this dike. I live in Jersey Shore. I don't want to pay for Williamsport Dike down here. Let Williamsport pay for it. There's nothing here that I like except coming here to these meetings, you know. I don't want to pay for it. And when Williamsport wants $15 million worth of work done to their dike, and then they want to put money into a ball field up here, I got a real problem with that. So, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment at this time? If hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. We'll meet again next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thanks for software instruction.